Hi guys, it is Tamara. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about managing your feelings of emotional and psychological attachment. On Monday we talked a lot about attachment. I pointed out some common signs and symptoms that you may be struggling with attachment. And Wednesday I'm supposed to be covering the topic of attachment. So we're going to put all of that into one video today, and then we're going to start Monday with a whole nother topic. So thank you so much for coming back to my channel. For those who are subscribed and for those who are new, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button so you can stick around with us, learn, grow, and continue to learn about yourself and your mind, learn some things about trauma, feel validated. That's a lot of powerful energy that we need, I think, when we're dealing with, family and toxic relationships and trauma. And so I think that's what this channel is kind of evolving into over time, is a community of support and of energy and validation. So go ahead and join us. The benefits for you in today's video is that I'm going to point out a couple of things that I think that you could do to manage attachment trauma. So let's just go ahead and jump in. All right. So the first thing that I say to my clients, when I have primarily adult clients who come into my office and they say, you know what, Tamara, I have childhood trauma, I have relationship trauma, and because of those two things, I don't know how to manage my own emotions, and I don't know how to stop myself before I become overly attached or before I become cemented in this relationship. So the first thing that I tell them to do is something very, very simple. Manage your own emotions. When you find yourself kind of losing yourself in somebody else, or you find yourself becoming codependent, and there's signs of that. We're going to talk about that as well at some point, but the signs of codependency and the signs of fusing with another individual is not being able to think for yourself, not really being able to clearly identify what's your emotions versus the other person's emotions, right? Not being able to speak up for yourself and allowing the more dominant person in the relationship to make the choices, the decisions, and to talk, right? So that's codependency. When you find that happening to yourself, you have to manage your emotions. And one way to manage your emotions is by using apps, right? Today is like technology 100%, right? Everything we do is technology based. Everything that we do has something to do with technology. So you can use that to your benefit, all right? So there's a couple of apps that I like, and I'm going to see if I can do a snapshot for you, and I'll put them over here. The first app that you can use is called Dailyo. Dailyo is an awesome emotion regulation app. When you download that app, I think it's for Android, but it may also be for iPhone. When you download that app, it allows you to put a date and a time and a specific emotion on how you're feeling in that moment. It also allows you to chart your emotions over time, and then either send a report to your therapist, your doctor, or just send a report to your own email for you to print out later. One of the things I love about Dailyo is that you can do this, but I love the fact that you can share these things with your therapist if you have one. You can look at your emotions over time, and it kind of helps you determine, is this a mood disorder? Is this anxiety? Am I getting really codependent here? So you can track your emotions. I encourage you to track your emotions in a relationship. So let's say you have a traumatic childhood. The best way to track your emotions in a romantic relationship, making sure that you're not getting codependent or that you're not getting too close too soon, is to use Dailyo and track your emotions when you're with that person, or track your emotions during the week to see how you fluctuate and to see what triggers you. I think it's a great way to kind of track your emotions, okay? The next one is an app called Jade. It's a similar app, and what it does is it tracks you. It allows you to have a calendar. You can set like reminders on things. These two apps are really good. So either one you download, I think they're both for Android. I'm not sure for iPhone, but whichever one you download, I think it's good to have it. There's another app, I think it's called Marlo. Let me make sure. I thought I had it somewhere here. Oh, okay, here it is. It's called the Mood Flow Chart. That's what it is. Here it is right here. It's the Mood Flow Chart, and it's another way that you can track your emotions. You can track fluctuations in your mood, right? You can kind of document for yourself, for your therapist or somebody else, what happens to you throughout the day or the week or the month. Okay, so I think these are good ways to get started on managing your emotions. Once you know how to track your emotions, you can then figure out what it is that triggers you. And once you figure out what triggers you, then you can then figure out what it is that you need to do to fix the problem. Okay, so all right, so let's go to number 2. So the second thing that I encourage my clients to do is to stay focused and stay relaxed. You have to create a baseline for yourself. So let's say, for example, because of your attachment trauma over time, you have a baseline of anxiety, fear, uncertainty, right? Anger. That's your baseline. We'll do an activity too. I'm going to introduce you to an activity I do with my clients. We'll do that at some point this month as well. But if your baseline is anger, if your baseline is anxiety, if your baseline is uncertainty and fear and mistrust, then what you want to do is make sure that you stay calm at your baseline at all times. And the best way to do that is to kind of layer approaches. You want to layer approaches. An example, herbal tea at night before you go to bed, a meditation at night before you go to bed, journaling in the morning when you wake up, eating a healthy breakfast or a healthy snack before bed or a healthy dinner, going jogging or playing tennis, basketball, football, right? Spending time with the boys, playing video games for a little while every week, right? Taking your dog for a walk in a park, using a meditation CD or app to relax you. The kicker here, or the real important thing, is that you make this a routine. The routine is going to create a baseline. It's going to create a new baseline. And I often tell my clients that, once you've had a traumatic history and you have attachment trauma, you have to create a new you, because you've kind of learned how to operate in a dysfunctional fashion. You've also have learned to get into the pattern of emotionality and reacting and really living in your emotions. But if you develop a new you, then you're going to be more healthy in how you react and respond to things. So the best way to create a new you is to create a new baseline. And you're going to have to do some things in a routine fashion to create that new baseline. Okay? So that's my suggestion, to do that. So again, doing these various things will create a new baseline, and your ultimate goal is to create a new baseline that's going to help you be a better person and move you out of that traumatic mindset and heart that you have. Okay, the next one and the third thing is therapy. I think therapy is utopia when you have attachment trauma or trauma history. If not therapy, then some kind of pastoral counseling or faith-based counseling or some kind of peer specialist counseling, something where you're able to talk with a person, bounce ideas, right? Not somebody that claims to be something that they're really not, right? You want somebody that's certified and licensed and qualified, and somebody that you can actually build a relationship with and trust, not somebody that just posts a bunch of degrees up on the wall or says there's something and there's no proof, right? That's not what you want, and I'm sure that's not what you want, because you would shy away from me if I were doing that, right? So you want something that's authentic, and you want to find somebody that can deliver every single time. Now, aside from counseling is coaching, and you can find yourself a life coach. I'm actually going to post a link in the description box below where you can go online and find your own life coach. So I think that that can be helpful if you're not interested in counseling. Okay. Oh, and by the way, you can do online counseling too. So don't forget about telehealth. I'll post an article in the description box below for you in case you're not familiar with telehealth. But telehealth is like what we're doing right now. The only thing is that we don't have a one-on-one relationship. I'm like counseling the masses in a sense. But with telehealth, you have access to somebody that you can do this with on a weekly basis and create a routine with that as well. That can create a new baseline for you. All right. And last but not least is manage the relationship, but learn how to manage the relationship appropriately. And so I wrote down in my notes what I mean by manage the relationship. Okay. So manage the relationship when you find that, things are moving too fast, right? When you have attachment trauma and you're codependent, you want to be able to track yourself. You want to be able to say, okay, this is moving too fast. My emotions are going too fast. I really don't know how to deal with this. you know, I'm going to have to back up from this person a little bit, give myself some space to process, give myself some space to think, okay? So, you know, you want to manage it by noticing that you're moving too fast, right? You want to have an objective person, okay? This is number 2. You want to have an objective person help you manage that relationship. If you have attachment trauma and you know that you're ripe for codependency, and you know that you're going to be mismanaging the relationship in some ways, or mismanaging your own emotions, then you want to have that objective person next to you say, okay, you're getting a little bit too far in, right? You're a little bit too deep at this point, and you guys just started dating last week. So you want somebody that can do that, all right? The next thing is watch for signals of codependency. And what I mean by this is the fusion of identity I talked about in this video up here, and in the beginning of this video, where I talked about, your identity becoming so fused, right? And I always give you the signal, right? Your identity becomes like this, and you can't get out. And so you don't want that fusion of identity, because you lose your own emotions, you lose your own thoughts, you lose your own feelings, you lose your own perspective in favor of theirs, and that is dangerous, okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit more too about traumatic bonding. We'll try to touch that topic after next week. Because traumatic bonding can also happen in a codependent relationship. The next is get out as soon as possible. And I like to tell my clients, if you're in a situation where you're knee deep and you're codependent and you guys are hurting each other and it's dysfunctional and it's unhealthy and it's toxic and it's abusive, get out, because it's not going to get better. Remember the baseline perspective that I keep giving you. If you create a baseline in something that's dysfunctional, you're going to have to create a new baseline. And so if you're in a dangerous or codependent relationship that's unhealthy, that's the baseline of the relationship, right? The baseline of the relationship is codependency. And so in order to get out of that, you want to create a new baseline. And sometimes you have to get out of the relationship to create that. Sometimes you can get out of the relationship and fix it and go back. And sometimes you have to get out of the relationship and stay out of the relationship, okay? And last but not least, get help for obsessions and rumination and obsessive behavior and thoughts and feelings. Because, individuals who have attachment trauma, they tend to have an obsessive nature. And the obsessive nature is, it either comes forth in the need for validation. So there is an obsessive need for validation from other people, or there is an obsessive need for love and affection. And those are the two polar opposites that I have noticed working with people over my 12-year career as a trauma therapist, that there's either an obsession with, love and fantasy and a need for love, or there's an obsession with being validated. And so you seek that, right? You seek it over here, you seek it over there, you seek it over there, you seek it back there, and you're hoping that you will hit the jackpot and be able to connect with somebody who can feed that. That is really, really hard. The other piece of this too is it's unrealistic, because we're human, so we're not going to meet each other's expectations 100%. So when you have attachment trauma, you want to make sure that you're not being obsessive, right? Obsessive in terms of needing validation, and obsessive in terms of needing love and affection. And if you do find yourself in that, even the slightest bit, you find yourself in that, you want to step out and you want to reach for support or go to that objective person. So these are some ways that you can manage attachment trauma. This has worked for a lot of my adolescent clients and my adult clients. Children, they're a little bit different, but this has worked with the adults and the adolescents in my practice. I find that they're practical, and my clients can actually take them from memory and say, okay, I'm going to apply this to this situation, or I'm going to apply it to that. So I encourage you to try that out and see how far you get with that. We're going to continue talking about this, guys. So this is not the last video on attachment trauma. Thank you so much for being with me in this video today. If it was helpful to you, I encourage you to comment in the comment section below. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button, the like button. Let me know if this was helpful to you. Every time you do that, that reinforces that I am helping you, and so then I can go to the next stage with you guys. So we're going to continue on Monday. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.